Alright, so here we are going to talk a little bit about what combat was like for armies in the late 1700s. This is going to be a battle from a game in the Napoleonic era, which was 30 years later, but the technology and the tactics were not all that different. The first forces that we're going to talk about are the infantry, which is what most people are familiar with, and that is your foot soldiers. As you notice, they're in a big long line, and the reason for that is because you have to be able to keep them in tight so that you can control where they're going and be able to concentrate their fire. You can see here that red cone area is their area of fire. So you can see this area right in here is where they are the most deadly. Now clearly, if you can come up to the side of them, where there's only these little three guys on the edge, and everybody lined up behind them this direction, then they wouldn't be able to fire, and that's called flanking. So the idea is that you want your infantry to be out here firing into the sides of this infantry unit. Next we have cavalry, or artillery. This is our cannons. They're big, they fire a really large round, they fire a fairly long distance over the battlefield, and they can do a lot of damage, but they move slow and they fire slow. So they need to be protected. You've got to put them somewhere safe on the battlefield where they can fire effectively, but not get attacked by infantry, or even more dangerous, the cavalry, because that's bad for them. So as you can see, the guns have to be pulled around the battlefield on horseback, and then when the forces decide to set up, I will unpause the game and show you how that happens. They have to actually set. They're ready to fire, and they fired solid shot for the most part, which is just a large heavy ball, and you don't necessarily need to have the round itself strike the target. If they've hit rocks or earth or trees or other horses or anything, and those things were near you, those things would break into a million pieces and they would hit you and it would mess you up. The last force that we have is our cavalry, and that is horse-mounted soldiers. And because the rifles took so long to reload, and they were so long anyways, cavalry didn't tend to carry rifles in this era. They would just carry a sword. And of course, you would not want to run these guys directly into the front of the enemy infantry, because they could put their bayonets on the front of their rifles. And let's move to enemy formation. And they could fix their bayonets on the end of their rifles, hold them out in front of them, and then your cavalry would charge directly into all that sharp, pointy death, and that was not good for them. You would want them to come around from behind or on the sides and attack in here while these guys are engaged shooting at other infantry. So the commander will give orders to his infantry to move out and engage the enemy infantry. Because battlefields are loud and big and smoky and chaotic, he would have riders. This would be your general right here.
Our general is under attack.
Our general's under attack. He would have riders who could go out and give messages to other units. You'd have signal flags that could be used. You could blow a bugle. And then the officers within each of these units would try to direct those units as well as they could. And you're going to see them start to move into fire. And you can also, as these units get closer, you're going to be able to see the artillery starts to take its toll on these guys. Not very accurate. And the infantry is lining up, and they're about to trade some fire. Now you can see here, I have 2 regiments of infantry. The enemy, or I have 3, the enemy has 2. So the best thing for me to do would be to have these 2 engage directly with each other, okay? And I'm gonna have this 3rd one rush forward and try to get on the flank of the enemy to fire at the side. So I have this unit and this unit firing onto this unit. 2 units concentrating their fire onto 1. Let's see how it works out. So as you can see, the enemy doesn't always just stand there and wait for you to do your own thing. He moved one of his units off to engage this guy. So this is going to be a 1-on-1 fight up here, and then we've got a 2-on-1 fight here. And again, I want to try to get on his flank with my extra guy. So this guy's going to move, and this is actually a group of grenadiers. You can see the French guys took enough casualties that they are starting to retreat. So now I can have my grenadiers fire on the flank of this French infantry. And now you can see they're being, no matter which direction they fire at, they have enemies firing at them from multiple directions. And as you can see, the fire is taking its effect. And there are people dropping like flies. Now at some point, what might happen when a side gets desperate or they get low on ammunition is they might do a bayonet charge. So they can, let's see what that looks like here. I'm going to command my 2 infantry regiments to go in here and do a bayonet charge against this French infantry. And, by the way, I need to tell my artillery not to fire at that spot anymore. Now, as you can imagine, a wall of pointy death running at you like this could be pretty scary, and it's a good way of getting the enemy to break and run. And, oh, look, he's bringing in his cavalry to mess with he's trying to outflank my infantry. So, luckily, I also have my own cavalry, which I will bring in to attack his cavalry. They are on the flank, and they're able to attack my guys from the side. And now this infantry unit turn around, and my cavalry just arrived, and they are charging into the French cavalry, and most of them are dead or retreating. Now I'm going to continue with my cavalry and have them go take out the enemy artillery. And so we'll just watch that. These guys are helpless, sitting ducks, and it's about to be ugly.